Chapter 1435. Gu Mingming hesitated for a moment before shaking her head. She did not say it out loud, but based on her gut feeling, she truly felt that Gregory, who looked like he was abstinent, was the type of person with a solid heart. Frustrated, Gu Mingming pinched Li's face and grumbled, "It's all your fault. Why did you set him up to like me?" Leah allowed Gu Mingming to behave wildly in his arms. Seeing her frustrated made him feel better. If she happily accepted Gregory, he would feel terrible again. Sometimes, Leah also felt that he was a fool. He was the one who arranged for Gregory to get close to Gu Mingming, but Gregory followed his plan and fell in love with Gu Mingming. He was also the one who felt disgusted. He was the one who wanted Gu Mingming to accept Gregory as a family member. But if Gu Mingming accepted him, he would be the one who would be frustrated. Leah was almost driven crazy by himself as his rationality and emotions were being torn apart every day. "Yeah, it's all my fault." Leah held Gu Mingming's little fist and kissed it. "It's all my fault for making things difficult for my precious Gu Mingming." Gu Mingming retracted her hand and shook her head. "Let's not tell Gregory about this first. I still need to think about it. If there's any other way, let's not hold him up like this." Leah nodded. "The beast deity's words are just a suggestion to you. But to the others in the beast world, it's a divine decree. Therefore, the matter of our family recruiting new people must be put on the agenda. If you don't want it to be Gregory, then why don't you transfer Berg back, or Burrit?" Gu Mingming waved her hands. "We'll talk about it later. Let me think about it." "All right." Actually, Leah hoped that no one would join. But since the beast deity had spoken, this matter had to be carried out. Leah handed Gu Mingming over to Elvis before heading out to prepare the meal. Before the meat was out of the pot, Oriton had already smelled the aroma and ran over. He circled the stove and followed closely behind Leah like a little tail, afraid that he would miss mealtime. Li's cooking was a sign that Gu Mingming was awake. Wabiai entered the stone castle openly while Gregory stood at the entrance. He did not have the right to enter, so he could only stand at the entrance and look in. He wanted to see if this person who had slept for more than 4 days had really woken up. Unfortunately, Gu Mingming's bedroom was on the second floor. Even with his X-ray vision, he could not see her. But even so, he could not tear his eyes away from the main door of the stone castle. All he could hope for was to see her a second earlier. Wabiai went up to the second floor and directly kicked the door open. He grinned at Gu Mingming. "How is it?" Gu Mingming felt vexed and her expression did not look too good. She just shook her head, indicating that there was still no news about sending Wabiai to meet Snake. Wabiai didn't know what Gu Mingming was upset about. Seeing her expression, he asked worriedly, "What's wrong? Did something happen to Snake?" Gu Mingming was taken aback, then she shook her head and said, "No, Snake is fine. It's my father who can't bear to see me living so leisurely, so he gave me some trouble." Gu Mingming told him about how the beast deity had asked her to accept Gregory. But Wabiai just laughed coldly and said, "I thought it was something serious. Isn't it just accepting a birdman? What are you so conflicted about? So be it if you accept it. When the time comes, you can keep him if you like him. If you don't, can't you still eat him? Isn't it good to have more fresh-keeping rations during winter?" Gu Mingming rolled her eyes at Wabiai and said, "I should have just thrown you into the modern world to pair up with Bailan." Aside from the topic, today was the last day of April. "Babies, the monthly tickets will really expire tomorrow, so give them to Susu, alright?" Chapter 1436. Gregory, Leah, who was standing beside the stove, called out. Gregory was taken aback for a moment before turning to look at Leah with a questioning gaze. Leah said, "Mingming loves to eat bird eggs. Go find some and I will cook them for her." Gregory's expression froze and his eyes were filled with disbelief as he stared at Leah in a daze. Leah chuckled and tilted his head to ask, "Why? You are not willing?" "No." Gregory shook his head. Even his tone became slightly weaker. "Then hurry up and go. Don't delay Mingming from cooking." Leah retracted his gaze and continued cooking, not looking at Gregory anymore. Oriton circled around Leah and asked if there was anything he needed him to prepare. Actually, he just wanted to add more dishes. He had been starving for a few days after Gu Mingming slept and now he was dying of cravings. But if he said he wanted to eat, Leah would definitely not make it. So he could only use the excuse of adding more dishes for Gu Mingming to make a few more dishes. To be honest, Oriton was not good enough to play mind games in front of Leah. But Leah could not be bothered to expose his simple and straightforward wish and just let him be. Lee's emotions were very complicated and he needed some peace and quiet. It was a good thing that Oriton was not around. When Elvis carried Gu Mingming out of the house, he saw Leah cooking alone by the stove. Gregory and Oriton were not around. The steam from the pot obscured Lee's silhouette. Gu Mingming narrowed her eyes and said, "Don't you guys feel that Leah is different? He looks even better." Wabiai glanced at Leah lazily before claiming credit. "Yeah, it's my credit." Gu Mingming looked at Wabiai. "What? You are a plastic surgeon from Korea. Did you do Lee's face while I was not around?" Wabiai did not know what Gu Mingming was talking about. He just rolled his eyes. "You are a beast king, right? Can you not be so insensitive to your level? So embarrassing. Don't tell others that you know me." Gu Mingming remained silent for 2 seconds. Then she broke into a wide smile and pounced towards Leah. The moment Gu Mingming came out of the house, Leah knew. How should I put it? To Leah, Gu Mingming was an existence that radiated light all over. As long as she appeared, he would naturally see her. Moreover, they were so close to each other that Leah had heard everything they said just now. With a smile on his lips, Leah supported Gu Mingming, who had pounced onto his back like a monkey. "Happy?" "Of course I'm happy." Gu Mingming wrapped her arms around Lee's neck and kissed him on the cheek. "I was wondering why I felt that you were different when I woke up. So you have leveled up? Ah, the top-tier version of Leah, so handsome I can't take my eyes off you." Leah was pleased by Gu Mingming's exaggerated admiration. By right, it was rather sad to use one's looks to win someone's heart, but Leah felt that he was the most handsome person in her eyes. This was something to be proud of. He tilted his head and said, "This is still not the best version. After we obtain the spirit of the rocky cliffs and I break through to the Beast King bloodline, it will look even better. Get it? Once we get the love of the sky, we'll get it. For my peerless looks, even a mountain of knives and a sea of fire can't stop me." As Gu Mingming said that, she kissed Lee's cheek again. She added, "You are so good-looking now. In the future, our children will definitely look better than the children in the milk powder commercials on television." Digression. On the first day of May, Leah leveled up. Chapter 1437. "Leah, how many do you foxes usually give birth to?" Gu Mingming hung on Lee's back and asked while watching him cook. "Usually 3 to 10. Leah replied, "You gave birth to 4 in your previous birth, this birth should be about the same number." Ever since he confirmed that he could get the love of the sky during the dry season, Leah no longer avoided discussing children with Gu Mingming. On the contrary, he started to let his expectations run wild. Now he was already a 5th-level orc. Although he was just at the entry level with a beast king like Elvis as a training partner, he needed much less time to reach the peak of his abilities compared to other 5th-level orcs. When the Beast King bloodline was activated, a family of 3 Beast Kings would at least be able to protect a few cubs. Then I still have to think of 2 more names. Gu Mingming mumbled. 2. Leah tilted his head and asked Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming smiled with her eyes squinted. "Yes, I already thought of 2 names, but if I have 4 sons, then I have to think of 2 more." Although he had not given birth yet, Leah himself was looking forward to it. He was also very willing to discuss their future with Gu Mingming. A future with her and children. "Tell me, what names did you think of?" Gu Mingming chuckled. "It's not what I thought of, it's ready-made." "Ready-made?" Leah was even more confused. Gu Mingming nodded. She smiled slyly and replied, "Xuanxia and Ba Wei are my 2 favorite foxes. I used to want them to be my boyfriends, but if they can't be boyfriends, they can be sons." Leah put down the things in his hands and pulled Gu Mingming over from his back into his arms. He supported her but with one hand and supported her back with the other, letting her legs wrap around his waist. Then they stared straight into each other's eyes. Leah squinted his long and affectionate eyes. He gritted his words and asked, "Shouldn't I be your favorite fox?" Gu Mingming looked like she was caught in the act. She smiled and said, "In the past it was my favorite fox in the past." "Mingming, you clearly said that I was your first love, then these 2 foxes, Gu Mingming waved her hands and said, "Don't mess around, they are not in the same dimension as us. That's an anime, it's only for fantasy, it doesn't have a physical body." Leah raised his brows in obvious disbelief. Gu Mingming chuckled. "Ba Wei and Double Blaze are fictional characters. They don't exist. But no matter how good he is, he still can't be compared to you. Ever since I met you, I've looked down on other foxes. Really, Daddy Leah is the most handsome, Daddy Leia." Leia smiled. He was pleased by her flattery. Freeing up one hand, he pinched Gu Mingming's little nose and said, "You're not allowed to like other foxes, I won't allow any vixen other than me to fight for your favor." "That won't do." Gu Mingming raised her head and patted her tummy twice with her little hands. Our family will definitely have many little foxes in the future, and I like all of them. I'll love every single one I see. The corners of Li's lips curled up unknowingly. He bit Gu Mingming's earlobe lightly and said, "Yours doesn't count." Chapter 1438. Leah was nonchalant. He turned back to look at Gregory and called out naturally, "Why are you still in a daze? Bring me the eggs." Gregory paused for a moment, then brought the entire nest to Leah. Leah frowned and took 2 eggs from the nest, saying, "It's my fault for not making myself clear. Our family's rule is not to take everything. We can't do this kind of thing in the future. Mingming doesn't like it." Gregory was at a loss and didn't know what to do. Leah took out a small bowl and filled it with a small spoon of honey. He then added water to mix it into honey water and passed the cup to Gregory, saying, "When taking honey, we will only cut half of the beehive. When hunting, we won't catch pregnant prey, nursing mother beasts or cubs. It's the same for the eggs. We can only take 2 from each nest, no more. This is our family's rule." Gregory nodded, not really understanding. He was extremely sensitive to the words "our family." He could even feel the blood in his body boiling and surging uncontrollably. "Send the water over to Mingming. She just woke up and needs more water." Leah took the nest and placed it at the side, saying, "Remember to apologize to Mingming. Don't let her be in a bad mood because of this. Otherwise Elvis and I will not let you off." Gregory felt extremely uneasy. He held the cup of water and didn't even dare to look at Gu Mingming's eyes. Li's attitude meant that he acknowledged his status as a member of the family, right? But Gu Mingming didn't express her stance. What if she didn't agree? He was extremely afraid that Gu Mingming would personally extinguish this hope. What if she refused to eat the eggs he brought back? What if she said that Leah was fooling around and asked him not to mind? What if, while he was in a dilemma, Gregory had already walked step by step to Gu Mingming? He passed the cup of water to her, and the turbulence in his heart was reflected on his face, with only a slight frown. Even someone like Gu Mingming, who knew a little about psychology, couldn't see anything strange from his face. It wasn't that Gu Mingming didn't see or understand Li's attitude towards Gregory. She sighed helplessly. This Leah, he had clearly said that he would let her think about it, but in the blink of an eye, he was forcing her into a corner. Gu Mingming walked around Gregory and glared at Leah. But Leah just smiled at her in a flirtatious manner, then nodded, implying that she should just accept Gregory like this. It was just an empty title. Gu Mingming face-bombed and took the cup of water from Gregory. "Gregory, let's talk." Gregory's heart skipped a beat and he clenched his fists tightly. He looked up at Gu Mingming, his eyes trembling. What does she want to talk about? Was he going to tell him to scram? No, at least not now. She still had to go to the Moda Mountains to retrieve the love of the sky during the dry season. Chapter 1439. You want me to back off in the face of difficulties? Gregory clenched his fists tightly, his eyes filled with uneasiness. In order to chase him away, she was willing to belittle herself? Gu Mingming shook her head. Gregory's face turned pale. Shake his head? What did she mean by shaking her head? If she was not trying to make him back off in the face of difficulties, then hope was ignited. Gu Mingming clearly saw his eyes light up. Sighing, Gu Mingming felt rather helpless. I told you I am selfish and greedy. Many times I do things without considering the consequences and do things on impulse. So Elvis and Leah are exhausted from running around cleaning up my messes all over the world. You know, jumping off the cliff at Moda Mountains was one of the many reckless actions I did. And after my recklessness, you saw how Leah helped me deal with the aftermath. Thinking about what Leah had said to him when they went to the cave on the opposite mountain, Gregory nodded. Gu Mingming continued, Now, the problem in front of me is that I want the love of the sky, but my father is trying his best to make me accept you. All along, my father has been fulfilling my requests one-sidedly. This is the first time he wants me to do something. I don't want to reject him, but I also don't want Elvis and Leah to be upset. The most advantageous situation for me is to take you in as a guardian beast, a member of my family, but not as a partner. Our relationship will only stop here, just like Oriton and I. There will never be another step forward. This way it will be natural for you to bring me to Moda Mountains during the dry season. I will be able to answer to my father and not let Elvis and Leah down. This is a situation that has many advantages and no disadvantages for me. Gu Mingming stood up from Elvis's arms and walked to Gregory. Due to the difference in height, she had no choice but to look up at Gregory. She looked into his eyes in all seriousness and said, But the price for me to obtain all of this is all paid by you. Once you are labeled as mine, no female in the beast world will be willing to accept you. Even if you regret it in the future, there is no way out. Don't think that staying by my side and seeing me will make you happy. Let me tell you, it is not happy at all. You are different from Oriton because he only likes food and not me. So no matter how close and happy I am with Elvis and Leah, he will not be jealous. But you? Won't you be jealous? Gu Mingming poked Gregory's heart with her finger and said, day after day of loneliness, no matter how much effort you put in, no reciprocation for all your love. Do you really want to endure that kind of pain? Grace, if I were you, I would calmly think about whether it was worth it to sacrifice my life for such a woman. What you should do now is not to listen to Leah telling you about the family rules, nor to remember what to do to make me happy. Instead, run away from me. Don't let a selfish woman like me catch you. That's the smart thing to do, understand? As Gu Mingming said, she retracted her hand and wanted to turn around and return to Elvis's arms. But before he could pull his wrist back, Gregory grabbed it. Chapter 1440. So, you should smile at me, then let me fall into your trap and put into action what you said just now into action, and not point out the pros and cons to make me wary. Gregory did not pull Gu Mingming into his arms, but took a step forward and got closer to Gu Mingming, saying, you are really making things difficult for me. I still thought that I could receive some gentleness during the period when you are using me, even if it is temporary and fake. But now, it seems that you have no intention of lying to me. You don't even have any intention of using me. You said that you want to lay all your cards on the table, but you actually want to scare me off, right? Gu Mingming was speechless and quietly took a small step back. She knew that if she directly rejected him, Gregory would not listen to her analysis of the pros and cons, so she pretended to say that she was willing to accept him, so that he would listen to her patiently. She originally thought that he would scold Gu Mingming as a scumbag after listening to her, then turn around and leave. Who knew that this bird did not play by the rules? I don't go down the mountain often, but it doesn't mean that I am ignorant. Gregory allowed Gu Mingming to take a small step back, then he took a big step forward. The distance between them was even closer than before, almost sticking to each other. The cruel situation you mentioned just now, isn't it the most common situation in every family? Compared to those males who don't even have the chance to tell their names to their females, at least I am remembered by you, isn't it? Gu Mingming was suddenly speechless. In this beast world, other than her and Sandy, the two abnormalities, the mating of females was really like what Gregory said. As long as they were pleasing to the eye, they could be accepted into the family, but after that they would forget about them. Other than the first partner and a few especially favored ones, the females did not even know how many partners they had. Like Nina and Ellie, they really could not even remember all the names of their partners. In a male's perspective, it is only right to sacrifice everything for the female. The response and reciprocation you mentioned. I am lucky to receive it, but not my life. Wrapping his other arm around Gu Mingming's waist, Gregory maintained an ascetic expression as he looked at Gu Mingming, saying, you don't have to come close to me, you don't even have to stand at the same spot to wait for me. If you want to retreat, I'll let you retreat. No matter how far apart you are, no matter if there are thousands of ravines or galaxies between us, these distances and obstacles will all be crossed by me. Being able to feel jealousy and heartache for the female you like is already a kind of happiness. After all, the current him did not even have the right to be jealous. Gu Mingming, I like you. I don't mind being your companion, pet, guardian, or even food. As Gregory spoke, he plucked a feather from his ear and handed it to Gu Mingming. So, are you willing to accept me and let me become a member of your family? Just as Gu Mingming was hesitating, she heard a deafening roar. Before Gu Mingming could react to what was happening, Oriton, who had just returned from hunting, had already thrown away the prey in his hands and started fighting with Gregory. Gu Mingming looked at the two of them fighting with a dumbfounded expression, but Leah just waved his tail and said, if you want to be our guardian beast, you have to be capable enough. Gu Mingming pointed at Oriton and asked Leah, this? Chapter 1441. Gu Mingming was stunned for a moment before she burst out laughing. Leah was too bad, really too bad. Gu Mingming dared to guarantee that Oriton's definition of rice bowl was definitely the utensil used to eat. A fierce tiger on the ground and a vulture in midair were locked in a stalemate. Gu Mingming stared in bewilderment. Under normal circumstances, Elvis and Leah would intentionally avoid her during their battle. They rarely displayed their violent side in front of her, as if they were afraid of scaring her. But Oriton and Gregory were different. Gregory desperately needed to prove his strength to Gu Mingming, while Oriton was purely desperate for food. Wabi sat at the side and watched for a long time. His eyes were shining and he was itching to join in. Although there was nothing much to see in a fight between third-level beasts, as long as there was a fight to fight, he wanted to join in. Leah tugged at Wabiai's arm. The two guardian beasts are fighting for status in the family. What are you going over for? Wabiai twitched his lips. We are both 5th level now. Shall we go out for a fight? Leah shook his head. I'm not going to fight with you. I have more or less figured out your moves. It won't help me accumulate much experience. After dinner I will go out with Elvis. You can stay at home and accompany Meng Meng. Tumeng doesn't need my company. Wabiai's eyes were shining. I will go with you. Elvis is the Wolf King now. You can't beat him. Let's join forces. Leah snorted. If I join forces with you to fight my first partner, I won't be able to answer to Meng Meng no matter who wins, right? Ungrateful. Wabiai rolled his eyes at Leah, his face full of dissatisfaction. Leah knew that Wabiai was scolding him for accompanying him to level up while Gu Meng Meng was meeting the beast deity. He didn't mind and just smiled. Then he carried the meat from the pot to the dining table. The moment the bottom of the pot touched the table, Oriton and Gregory immediately stopped attacking each other. Oriton's jaws were already around Gregory's neck. If he bit down, Gregory's head would have to be moved. Meanwhile, Gregory's steel-like claws were already pressed against Oriton's chest. If his claws landed, Oriton's heart would definitely be smashed into pieces. Both of them were holding on to each other's vital points. It could be considered a draw. Gu Meng Meng took out a bowl and scooped 6 bowls of meat. She placed the first bowl on her seat. This was the rule: the female was the head of the household and had the priority to enjoy the meat. The second bowl was given to Elvis. This was the authority and welfare of the first partner and could not be disputed. The third bowl was given to Leah and the fourth to Wabiai. The 5th and 6th bowls were placed at the left and right corners of the table. Ort and Gregory stopped fooling around. Let's eat. It was a tacit acknowledgement of Gregory's status as a guardian beast. Gregory walked to Gu Meng Meng's side and wanted to pull her into his arms for a hug. But Elvis retracted his arm and directly pulled Gu Meng Meng into his embrace. A pair of sinister eyes looked at Gregory and said lightly, "She can hug you but you can't hug her." Gregory was taken aback for a moment before he smiled and nodded. He was a guardian beast, not a partner. Naturally, he did not have the right to hug her whenever he wanted. Not to mention him, even Leah could not carry Gu Meng Meng as long as Elvis did not agree. He was a little disappointed but not sad. Chapter 1442. Gu Meng Meng lowered her head and smiled helplessly. Your understanding of selfishness is too one-sided. Gregory maintained his posture of handing out the feather and just looked at Gu Meng Meng quietly. Gu Meng Meng looked up and met Gregory's eyes. She said, I said those words to you not to scare you off, but to let myself accept your kindness with a clear conscience. No matter how much pain you will suffer in the future, I can still say honestly, see, I told you long ago, you did all of this willingly, you can't blame me. Gregory's eyes widened. Gu Meng Meng didn't take the feather from Gregory. She just looked into his eyes. It's not too late to regret now, Gregory chuckled. He took a step forward and placed the feather on Gu Meng Meng's right ear. Then he smiled. You keep emphasizing how selfish you are and how heartless you will be towards me in the future. You are not trying to scare me. You are afraid. You are afraid to see me in pain, and afraid that you will soften because of guilt and self-blame. Your disguise is too clumsy. You can't hide it from me. Gregory took a step back and put some distance between them. He smiled and said, Don't worry, I won't purposely do something that looks tragic to coerce you. On the contrary, I will show you my strong points so that you will like me because I am outstanding enough. You will accept me and mate with me. Birds have their own pride. I love you, but I am not petty. Leah snorted. He scooped a piece of meat and sent it into Gu Meng Meng's mouth. You have to look at your face to make someone fall in love with you. I don't love you to begin with, so naturally I won't pity you. Gu Meng Meng facepalmed. Gregory had stepped on Lee's landmine. After all, Leah had used all sorts of methods to make her change her mind. In the end, he had almost jumped into a brazier and burned himself to death. Gu Meng Meng didn't say anything. She just quietly ate the meat in her bowl. Gregory didn't contradict Leah. After all, Leah was his mate while he was just a guardian beast. There was a difference in their statuses. After 2 mouthfuls, Gregory placed the bowl down. He looked at Gu Meng Meng. There is one more thing. I think I should confess in advance. Gu Meng Meng looked up at Gregory, waiting for him to continue. Gregory took a deep breath and said, The Fox King has already looked for me many times. He hopes that I can arrange a bird to send him to the Moda Mountains. He also wants the love of the sky. Gu Meng Meng was confused. Gregory shook his head and said, "It doesn't seem like it. From what he said, it seems like he wants to stay on Moda Mountains for a while." Gu Mingming frowned. If it wasn't for the love of the sky, he wanted to stay in the Moda Mountains for a while? Cole was not the kind of person who had the time to travel. Gu Mingming rested her chin on her hand and thought for a moment. Then she asked, "Did he ask you about the other treasures on the Moda Mountains?" Gregory shook his head and said, "He only said that he wanted to go up the Moda Mountains and did not mention anything else." "What are your conditions?" Gu Mingming understood Cole too well. If he wanted to rope Gregory in, he could not just rely on his mouth. He must have used threats and promises. Gregory looked at Gu Mingming and smiled. "Me?" Gu Mingming asked back. Gregory nodded and said, "He said that as long as he can successfully reach the Moda Mountains, he can let me have you." "Oh?" Gu Mingming asked. Chapter 1443. Gu Mingming thought about it and shook her head. "No need. Cole is very dangerous. You should avoid him in the future." Leah caressed Gu Mingming's brows. "Don't worry. Leave Cole's matters to me." Gu Mingming nodded and did not say anything else. Gregory received Lee's gaze and did not say anything. He just silently picked up his chopsticks and continued eating. He could not compare to Leah in terms of ability, trustworthiness and weight in Gu Mingming's heart. He still had a long way to go before he could establish a good image in Gu Mingming's heart. After lunch, Gu Mingming asked for a weasel bristle from Elvis. Then she asked Leah to use a fishbone needle to pierce a hole in her right ear. She then pierced Gregory's feather through the root before tying a dead knot through her own ear hole. That was how it became a feather earring. Because Gu Mingming frowned when she pierced her ear, Elvis and Leah glared at Gregory fiercely. Gregory's heart ached when Leah pierced Gu Mingming's earlobe. It was as if the needle was not piercing Gu Mingming's ear but his heart. But after that sharp and subtle pain, a warm current spread throughout his body. It was an indescribable feeling. It was as if the bones and blood forged from the cold wind and snow of Moda Mountains had suddenly melted in his body. Blood and bone marrow started to flow in those icicle-like bones. Inch by inch, the ice and snow melted in his body at a speed visible to the naked eye. Suddenly he seemed to understand a word. It was called warmth. That life that was as pale as the ice and snow seemed to have instantly turned into the warmth of spring. Yet Gregory knew that the drop of blood that dripped down Gu Mingming's earlobe had nourished his entire world and given him a new life. From the moment Gu Mingming wore that feather on her right ear, he was truly alive. "Stop glaring at him. I can't give him the mating mark. This can be considered as compensation." Gu Mingming tugged at Lee's and Elvis's hands. Then she smiled. "And it doesn't hurt. Look, it's fine." With that, Gu Mingming shook her head. The feathers swayed with the wind, accentuating the curve of Gu Mingming's neck. Gregory cleared his throat, then took out something from behind him and passed it to Gu Mingming. "This is..." That thing was carefully wrapped in a beast's skin. Gu Mingming opened the beast's skin as she received it. She was stunned for a moment before she smiled knowingly. "I didn't expect it to return to my hands in the end. Yes, you said I could trick a wife into coming back. I thought about it. I don't want to give it to anyone but you." Gregory did not have the right to hug Gu Mingming, but now he had the right to openly look at her with deep affection. He no longer had to worry about being rejected by her because his gaze was too explicit, nor did he have to worry about anyone seeing through his emotions from his gaze. Gu Mingming shook the feather fan made from Melodi's feathers and chuckled. "Although I made it, it still belongs to you. So, thank you for the present, I like it very much." "Yes." Gregory was at a loss. Although he was engaged, he had never imagined what his life would be like after he became a partner. Yesterday he was still worried about being chased away by her, but today he was already a member of her family. Chapter 1444. The messenger of the beast deity's family recruiting a new male was a big deal to the entire beast world. Moreover, she had accepted Gregory as a show for everyone to see, so there was no reason for her to keep it a secret. So, Leah stepped forward to prepare for a grand bonfire party 3 days later, in the name of sending off the messenger of the beast deity. Usually, after Gu Mingming passed the winter in Sauter and hosted the first hunting ritual, she would head to other places, either back to St. Nazir, Zacharias or back to the Snake King Valley. Anyway, she would not stay in Sauter for 2 consecutive seasons. But because they had to go to the Moda Mountains during the dry season this year, coupled with the fact that Elvis, the Beast King, had just descended, many wolf beasts did not manage to rush to Sauter in time, so Gu Mingming decided to stay for a longer period of time. Now that the rainy season was halfway through, Gu Mingming and the rest naturally had to start their journey to the Moda Mountains. As Oriton and Little Shit had to follow, it was impossible for Gregory to bring them by air. And if they were to travel by land, it would naturally take a longer time. After all, they could not travel in a straight line. And besides sending Gu Mingming off, the other purpose of this bonfire party was to introduce Gregory to everyone. To tell everyone that there was a new male in the messenger of the beast deity's family this year. He had wings and could fly. So, after everyone sat down by the bonfire, only Elvis and Leah sat at the main bonfire. There was an empty spot in the middle and Gu Mingming, who should be sitting there, was nowhere to be seen. Sandy's entire family had also arrived by the main bonfire, but Gu Mingming was not there. So the people below started to whisper, saying that it was clearly a farewell for the messenger of the beast deity, so why was the main character missing? Just as everyone was feeling puzzled, a bird's cry came from the night sky. Everyone looked up and saw a huge vulture circling in the sky. After 2 to 3 rounds, it landed steadily in front of the main bonfire. Gu Mingming jumped down from the vulture's back, then the vulture transformed into a human and followed behind Gu Mingming, sitting at the main bonfire together with her. Gu Mingming sat between Elvis and Leah, while Oriton sat beside Leah, while Vulture Gregory sat beside Elvis. Silence. Even the sound of the wind blowing against the bonfire was exceptionally obvious. The first person to react was actually Cole. Walking forward, he looked at Gu Mingming and placed his right hand in front of his left chest. He bowed and said, "Congratulations, Master, you got yourself another beautiful partner." Gu Mingming really wanted to throw a, "What does it have to do with you?" But she did not say anything. Firstly, she could not be bothered to waste her saliva on Cole. When Gu Mingming said the last sentence, she looked at Cole coldly. There was no beast pressure, but it still managed to extinguish Cole's flames. Chapter 1446. As for Cole, even though he had become a beast king, he could not wash away his identity as a stray beast, so he was naturally extremely afraid of Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming's gaze successfully extinguished Cole's arrogance, but it was like a pimple that was not squeezed clean, leaving an obvious pimple mark on his face. Even without touching, he knew that there was a hard lump there that could not be removed. The corners of Cole's mouth twitched uncontrollably, but he still succumbed to Gu Mingming's pressure. He smiled apologetically. It was Cole's carelessness. I did not control my beast pressure well and scared the Great Messenger's guardian beast. Please punish me, Great Messenger. Although Gregory was not as smart as Leah, he understood what they were doing. But, a vulture soaring in the sky, shuttling through the howling cold wind and piercing ice and snow, actually had to pretend to be a weak male who was frightened, just because Cole leaked a little beast pressure. This was really, Gu Mingming patted Gregory's hand and suddenly smiled. Seeing how Gregory, who clearly had a proud and unyielding character, was forced to play along with Lee's weak feeling. His face was almost cramping up, but he did not pretend to be frightened. The word, difficult, was written all over his face, but he still tried his best to play along with Leah. Gu Mingming unkindly felt that it was a little funny, but also very considerate. The Bird's tribe had their own pride. Gregory had personally told her that he would not do those miserable things to make her accept him out of guilt and self-reproach. Even though this was a path that Leah had walked on and personally proved to be effective. But now he was willing to give up this pride just to play along with Lee's plan. Gregory was momentarily stunned by Gu Mingming's laughter. He was a little dejected. Sorry? I really don't know how to act weak. He did not finish his sentence, but he believed that Gu Mingming understood what he meant. Gu Mingming shook her head. It's not the first time that the mighty Fox King has been so arrogant. You are not the first and will not be the last to be looked down upon by him. Back then, before he was the Fox King, he dared to kidnap my Leah and beat him back to his original form behind my back before sending him back to show off to me. I'm already being very polite by only saying a few words of contempt to you. Obviously, Gu Mingming had forcefully twisted Gregory's apology so that everyone present would think that Gregory was apologizing because he did not look strong enough and became Cole's way of insulting the messenger of the beast deity. The people of the Snow Fox clan broke out in cold sweat. Ever since the beginning of the winter hunt, the messenger of the beast deity did not bring along the Snow Fox clan for anything. It was obvious that she was deliberately distancing herself from them. The 16 tribes and the Wolf tribe joined forces, making it difficult for the Snow Fox tribe to fight alone. She had originally wanted to use this night campfire party to mend the relationship between the Snow Fox clan and the messenger of the beast deity. However, she did not know what was wrong with this Fox King. He actually went to provoke the messenger of the beast deity and even made her start to dig up old scores. Cole clenched his fists and glared fiercely at Gregory, as if he was looking at a dead man. Agu was actually talking to him like this because of that bird. He was the strongest male by Agu's side, and only he was qualified to be a match for a female like Agu. Taking 2 steps forward, Cole wanted to snatch Gu Mingming from Elvis's arms as if he was possessed. Chapter 1447. The storm in Cole's eyes did not escape Gu Mingming's eyes. If not for the fact that the soul of the forest had completely merged with him and the bewitching spell that Cole had placed on Qixin, she would have killed him without hesitation. But now it was not the right time. She had to gather all 7 treasures before she could kill Cole. The sequence could not be wrong. Gu Mingming glared at him coldly. How dare you? Cole's body went limp and he immediately knelt on the ground. This overwhelming pressure made Cole unable to lift his head. But just like a trapped beast, the thicker the chains locking him up, the stronger his desire to break free. Cole could not resist Gu Mingming's strong pressure, but this made him want to pounce on her even more. He wanted to possess her and see her submit to him in all sorts of ways. Elder Eugene, escort your king back to rest. Don't spoil my mood here. Gu Mingming's gaze was cold as she spoke softly. She swept a glance across them, revealing a nonchalant indifference but also an unquestionable authority. Yes. Elder Eugene, who had been called out, crawled to Cole's side. Together with another elder, they supported him and half-dragged Cole away. After this small episode, the night campfire party continued. Gu Mingming's appearance at such events was usually to show her face and tell everyone that she was not dead and was still alive. Today she had another goal, which was to introduce Grace. Now that both goals had been accomplished, Gu Mingming wanted to leave. After all, every night campfire party would eventually turn into a barbaric version of the "if you are the one" matchmaking session, then it would turn into a collective applause for love. The scene was a little painful to the eyes. Gu Mingming wanted to bid farewell to Sandy and leave first, but before she could lift her leg she saw someone slowly walking towards Sandy. Gu Mingming felt a tightness around her waist. It was Leah holding on to her. Gu Mingming turned back to look at Leah. Leah used his chin to point in Sandy's direction. Gu Mingming followed Lee's gaze and saw a snow fox standing leisurely in front of Sandy's campfire. He was holding onto a bouquet of fresh flowers and smiling in an appropriate manner, giving off the vibe of an elegant young master. Sandy, this is for you. The one holding the flowers was none other than Arnold, who had been standing at the entrance of Sandy's territory for a few days. Sandy was stunned. She thought that Arnold had given up and was even relieved. Who knew why he was here again? Sandy peeked at Gu Mingming with a troubled expression. Gu Mingming shrugged her shoulders, not understanding what was going on. Leah whispered into Gu Mingming's ear, he promised not to stand at the borders of Sandy's territory anymore. But today is the night campfire party and anyone can confess to the female they like. We have no reason to stop him. Gu Mingming face-bombed and looked at Sandy helplessly. Arnold acted as if he did not see the exchange between Sandy and Gu Mingming. He just chuckled. I just saw a beautiful flower and thought of the beautiful you, so I plucked it for you. Don't feel pressured, I won't confess to you. Sandy was speechless. The corners of Gu Mingming's mouth twitched as she thought to herself, unaccountably solicitous, sending flowers but not confessing? Does that mean you won't take responsibility after flirting with me? Stinking hooligan. Chapter 1448. Arnold completely ignored Hodgson's provocation and just smiled at the flowers scattered all over the ground. Then he said to Sandy, since these flowers can be placed on your path, I did not pluck them for nothing. I saw that you ate a lot of roasted meat for dinner, so you should feel a little greasy. I placed 2 chrysanthemums in the small bamboo cup you placed on the table and mixed it with honey. Then I made a cup of water with them. You should feel better after you drink it. The Fox King does not seem to be in a good condition today. I need to accompany my father to the Fox King to listen to his instructions, so I will take my leave first. With that, without waiting for Sandy to reply, Arnold turned around gracefully and walked out. After taking a few steps, he stopped and tilted his head slightly to look up at the moon. Sandy, look. Sandy instinctively looked up and followed Arnold's gaze to the moon. She did not see anything different, so she looked at Arnold in confusion. She met Arnold's affectionate gaze and gentle smile. His lips curved into a golden line, drawing out the proportions of his face beautifully. His voice was seductive as he said, just now we saw the same moonlight. There was nothing after that. Leaving behind a satisfied smile, he left. Gu Mingming had good eyesight and could clearly see Sandy's blushing face from such a distance. That chubby little hand instinctively covered her heart as she stared at Arnold's departing figure, unable to look away. Gu Mingming frowned. The males in the beast world were good at everything except for the fact that they were almost non-existent in romance. So, although Sandy had more than 10 partners who would stand in front of her to protect her in times of danger, none of them would tease her like this. But how could there be so many life and death situations for them to perform? This kind of harmless yet romantic trick was too tempting for Sandy. After a long while, when Arnold's figure had long disappeared, Sandy slowly looked away. She did not look at her partners but turned to face Gu Mingming. Her watery eyes were filled with helplessness and her lips trembled, but she could not say a word. Gu Mingming took a deep breath and walked over to hug Sandy. "What's the matter? If you have something to say, then say it. What's the taboo between us?" Sandy did not feel too good and her voice was filled with a faint sense of forbearance as she said, "Gu Mingming, I seem to have fallen for Arnold, but I cannot mate with him, he is from the Snow Fox tribe." Gu Mingming's heart skipped a beat. She cupped Sandy's little face and looked at her. "Are you dumb? The females in the beast world chose partners based on their mood. What did it have to do with the other party's race? Have you forgotten? Who was the one who told me that Lil Miss was in a good mood and wanted to mate, so you just lay down and wait?" What? Chapter 1449. Gu Mingming tugged at Sandy's little hand and whispered into her ear, "If you like him and believe that he really likes you and is willing to mate with him, then just do it. Don't worry about the race." Sandy tilted her head and looked at Gu Mingming asking, "Really?" Gu Mingming nodded seriously, then her gaze landed on Leah and she smiled, saying, "After I retrieve the love of the sky from the Moda Mountains, the next step will be to retrieve the spirit of the rocky cliffs to activate Lee's Beast King bloodline. By then, when Leah, the legitimate Fox King, descends, how will Cole, the stray Beast King, be able to rule the Fox clan? Moreover," Gu Mingming smiled and said, "I can't allow him to live for so long." Sandy twirled her fingers and hesitated for a long time before saying, "Then I will wait." Gu Mingming looked at Sandy in confusion, not knowing what she was waiting for. Sandy smiled and said, "I will wait for the day Leah becomes the Beast King. When you get rid of Cole and the Snow Fox clan truly becomes a family with us, then I will accept Arnold. Gu Mingming, I have done something wrong to you once in this lifetime and I don't want to do it a second time. That feeling of not being able to face you is too unbearable, more unbearable than losing anything else." Gu Mingming knew that what Sandy meant by letting her down was that she had stopped Colin from following Elvis and Leah to fight Cole head-on. Instead, she had grabbed onto Cole with all her might and escaped using the route that the females had used to escape. She had no choice but to do so. Gu Mingming had already said many times that Sandy did not do anything wrong and she did not blame her. If their positions were reversed, she would also not let Elvis or Leah take such a risk for another female. Of course, if the person in danger was Sandy, it was possible that she would rush forward herself, but she would never let Elvis or Leah fight an opponent that they knew they could not defeat. What was the difference between that and pushing him to his death? Gu Mingming had never felt that anyone had the obligation to risk their life for her. What's more, Colin was only her guardian and her friend at that time, not her man. But this matter was a dead knot in Sandy's heart that could not be untied no matter what. So all these years, as long as it was for Gu Mingming, Sandy could tolerate and do anything. This made Gu Mingming's heart ache, but there was nothing she could do. Helpless, Gu Mingming could not do anything to Sandy when she was stubborn, so she could only smile and say, "Don't worry, I won't let you wait for too long." Sandy nodded with a smile. The two of them hugged each other and chatted for a long time. The next morning, Gu Mingming and the rest departed from Sauter. The atmosphere in the conference room was terrifyingly low. Cole had thrown a huge tantrum and was now sitting on the main seat, looking maliciously at the group of elders who were kneeling on the ground and shivering. "Weren't you guys unwilling to be suppressed by the Wolf clan? Now that their Wolf King has left and that motley crew is in our territory, it's clearly a situation where we're at the mercy of others. Yet you're advising me to reconsider while trembling in fear? What are you thinking about? Why don't you tell me what should I be thinking about?" Cole smacked his hand and the armrest of the stone chair was smashed into pieces, sending debris flying everywhere. Chapter 1450. Agu. Cole suddenly smiled. His mood became extremely good. He closed his eyes as if he could see Gu Mingming's pained expression. That pair of eyes must be as red and seductive as a blooming red spider lily. That hatred must be the most beautiful expression on her face. Curling his lips, Cole said leisurely, "He will see the reality clearly and submit to me with unwillingness and hatred. He will be tamed by me and become my most perfect trophy." Slaughtering the wolf clan? Ha, you still have to ask if I agree to it? The meeting room door was pushed open and Qixin swaggered in. He nonchalantly picked up a small stone from the ground and tossed it up before catching it firmly. The smile on his face was 30% provocative and 70% confident. He looked at Cole and said, I told you long ago that your opponent is me. My mother just left and you can't sit still anymore. TSK, you can't keep your cool. I am starting to wonder if I have overestimated you. Seeing Qixin, Cole's expression froze. He narrowed his eyes and did not say a word. Qixin leaned against the wall and with the unruly demeanor of a hedonistic youth, he tossed the small stone and said, I am not a soft-hearted person like my mother. I don't believe that humans are good by nature and people will not offend me. I only believe in striking first and gaining the upper hand. I would rather betray everyone in the world. Cole was not angry. Instead, he had a gratified smile on his face. He nodded and said, You are indeed a child that I have taught. So, you have already instructed the wolf clan to kill the entire fox clan in one night? Kill them all? Qixin chuckled and said, They will be my daddy Li's tribesmen in the future. Why would I kill them? Cole narrowed his eyes and his anger leaked out. You also think that Leah can successfully activate the Beast King bloodline, right? Cole asked coldly. Qixin looked as if he had heard a joke and retorted, Don't tell me you think it is impossible? Don't forget, my mother is the messenger of the beast deity. If she can activate my father's Beast King bloodline, she can naturally activate Daddy Li's. Cole stood up and approached Qixin step by step. His rage engulfed him as he said word by word, Let me tell you, I would rather destroy the entire fox clan than give it to that bastard Leah. Qixin threw the small stone in his hand at the snow fox elder who was kneeling on the ground and asked with a smile, Did you see that? This is the Fox King that you are loyal to. In the future, when my Daddy Li's Beast King bloodline is activated, you guys can decide who to acknowledge and who to follow. Cole narrowed his eyes and clenched his fists. The sound of bones cracking could be heard from behind him. The elder who was hit by Qixuan's little stone had turned into a pile of meat paste. His bones broke into pieces inch by inch in his body and were wrapped in his skin. Blood slowly flowed out from his body, like a ferocious tentacle looking for the next target to steal his soul. TSK, the wrath of the Beast King? Qixin pinched his nose and took a step back. There's no point in scaring me. You also know that the soul of the forest has already been fully unleashed in your body. Both of us have two lives in the same body and we are mutually restraining each other. In the past, if you died, I would be buried with you. But if I died, you would be fine. But now, if anything happens to me, you will have to accompany me to the river of helplessness. Chapter 1451. Qixin shook his head, still smiling. You really didn't take my words to heart. I said before, I only care about my mother in this world. As long as she is fine, I don't care about anyone else's life or death, including myself. As Qixin said that, his sharp claws sliced towards his own neck. He did not hold back or hesitate in his speed and strength. Cole did not doubt that Qixin was bluffing. He grabbed Qixuan's wrist. Aren't you afraid that your mother will cry if you die? Qixin laughed. Haven't you figured out the situation? You can use me to threaten my mother because she is soft-hearted. But you can't use my mother to threaten me because I know, if I die, even if my mother cries, I won't be able to see her. The only ones who will have a headache are my father and Li's father. Using my little life to drag you, the Fox King, to die with me, no matter how I look at it, it's a good deal. Don't even think about it. Cole said word by word. Qixin brushed Cole's hand away. See, this is the difference between you and me. I am not afraid of death, so I am not afraid of you dying. But you seem to have many great ambitions that you have yet to complete. So you are afraid of death and also afraid that I will die. Not only can you not kill me now, you have to watch over me, protect me, and prevent me from suddenly dying. But unfortunately, I am not an obedient child. In my mother's words, this is called the rebellious phase. The more you don't want me to die, the more I feel that there is no meaning in living. Cole narrowed his eyes and took a step forward. Qixin took 2 steps back in alarm. You used the bewitching spell on me once and my mother also used it on me once. Don't tell me you think that I will fall into the same trap thrice? Qixin could clearly see Cole's veins throbbing. This was a sign that he was extremely angry. But Qixin remained extremely calm. He maintained an appropriate distance and did not look at Cole's eyes. He just said leisurely, I will be staying in Sauter for a while, so I came to greet the Fox King in advance. I am different from my 2 brothers. Not only do I not like to keep things to myself, I also get easily irritable. Perhaps it was because he had been around stray beasts for too long that he had developed a desire to be the most powerful. Unfortunately, as a mere second-grade beast, there are many things that don't go my way. So, if something doesn't go my way, I don't want to live anymore. You threatened me. It was not a question but a statement. Cole was clearly infuriated by Xianxia. He had never expected that one day he would be manipulated by someone else, and by a second-level orc at that. Xianxia didn't deny it. He just shrugged and said, "If that's how you interpret it, I have no objections. But my mom said that one must be polite and know how to be polite before using force. I'm just here to inform you that I'll be staying in Solder until my mom returns. From time to time, I will attack you or do something that will cause trouble for you, but you have to control your subordinates. Don't ever do anything that will make me unhappy. After all, my life is very precious and I am very irritable." With that, Xianxia grinned and turned to leave, ignoring Cole's twisted expression behind him. He was here to warn Cole that if he dared to cause any trouble when Gu Mengmeng was not around, he would drag Cole down with him at the cost of his own life. Cole had used him to threaten Gu Mengmeng for so many years. Now, the tables have turned. Chapter 1452. Cole took a deep breath and clenched his fists. Send someone to keep an eye on him. Don't let him make any mistakes. Then, the matter of attacking the Wolf clan. Eugene probed. Cole gritted his teeth. Let's discuss it in the long run. 2 flowers bloomed, one on each side. There was still 1.5 months before the dry season. With Gu Mengmeng and the rest's speed, it was more than enough for them to reach the Moda Mountains before the dry season. So with their usual habits of touring and doing proper business, they did not feel too tired along the way. Although Gregory had flown a few times to Solder from the Moda Mountains, he had always flown in a straight line from the sky. This kind of slow and steady walk was a new experience for him. There was a huge difference between looking at things from this angle and from a bird's-eye view from the sky. With Elvis around, Gu Mengmeng had always been the type to not bring her feet along. After a morning's journey, they had already walked out of Solder's territory. It had to be said that Solder's territory after the 16 tribes submitted to them was ridiculously huge. Oriton automatically took charge of hunting while Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng under the shade of a tree. Ever since Leah had risen to the 5th level, Wabiai finally found an opponent who was on par with him. So whenever he was free, he would drag Leah along to spar with him. Leah also wanted to level up quickly and naturally would not shirk his duty. So when Oriton went hunting, Leah and Wabiai started sparring on the empty ground. After all, Wabiai had been beaten up by Snake for many years and had been at the peak of the 5th level for over 800 years. Leah, a newly advanced 5th level beast, was still slightly weaker than him. But he was already much better than the rest. Gregory was at a loss. He did not know where his position in this family was. When everyone was doing their own things in unison, he felt rather uneasy. Gu Mengmeng felt indebted to Gregory on the matter of mating, so she naturally treated him better in other areas to make it up to him. Seeing his uneasiness, she waved him over to sit beside Elvis. They watched Leah and Wabiai fight and chatted at the same time. Actually, Saint Nazir also had a bird called Quinton. It was an eagle beast. When I first arrived, I had some friction with his mate and I almost died at his hands. Gu Mengmeng said nonchalantly, "At that time, I already knew that there were very few birds in the beast world and they were an important fighting force. So when Ian and the rest joined Saint Nazir, we gladly accepted." Quinton. Grace frowned and repeated the name, biting on it. Gu Mengmeng tilted her head and looked at Gregory asking, It's strange, aren't all your birds tribe members in Moda Mountains? Why is Quinton at the foot of the mountain?" Gregory looked at Gu Mengmeng in silence and did not reply. Gu Mengmeng was a little confused. "What's wrong?" "It's a secret. You can't tell me?" Gregory shook his head and said, "It's not a secret. If you go up to Moda Mountains you will find out sooner or later." Gu Mengmeng did not understand. Chapter 1453. Gu Mengmeng laughed dryly and said, "So?" Gregory said, "So he made use of his position to descend the mountain without permission and met a female who had wings but could not fly. For that female, he abandoned the Moda Mountains and joined the Walking Beasts tribe." "What the heck?" Gu Mengmeng face-bombed and said, "Which means if he did not get together with Nina that year, then the one who came to Solder to look for me is very likely to be him, right?" "No." Gregory said, "As long as there is a male born in the Vulture tribe that can receive the signal, his position as the leader will immediately be taken away. So, the one destined to meet you is still me. This is fate. Gu Mingming smiled and thought to herself that it was not a good thing that you were destined to meet me. But Gu Mingming did not say this out loud. She just had an idea and suddenly grasped another important point. Gu Mingming jumped up from Elvis's arms and looked at Gregory with her eyes wide open. She said, "You were not born when Quentin became the leader, so how old are you?" 10 years old. Gregory answered calmly, but Gu Mingming felt like she was struck by lightning. Looking up, Gu Mingming shouted angrily, "Father! Must you teach me to be a pervert?" Gu Mingming's shout frightened not only the beasts, but even Wabiai and Leah, who were fighting, stopped and walked to Gu Mingming's side. They looked at Gu Mingming and then at Gregory and asked, "What happened?" Elvis chuckled and gave Leah a look. He pointed at Gregory and said, "Age problem." Leah had a look of understanding. Previously at the Snake King Valley, she knew that Elvis was 3 years younger than her and suffered a huge blow. Now this Gregory Gu Mingming was 18 when she transmigrated and was already 22 this year. Then at the advanced age of 22 she harmed a 10-year-old male under her father's instigation. Gu Mingming grabbed her hair and squatted on the ground, muttering, "I don't have the face to see anyone. I really don't have the face to see him this time. I should be arrested and shot for 5 minutes. What the hell is going on?" Leah squatted beside Gu Mingming, like a child reaching out his hand to poke at a shell washed up by the waves. The method of calculating age in the beast world is different from your world. A normal male would be an adult at the age of 2 or 3. 10 years old isn't that young anymore. Look at Sandy's Jerry, he's only 7 years old this year. Gu Mingming buried her head in her knees and twisted her body to face the other side, refusing to lift her head. Leah walked to the other side of Gu Mingming and poked her, saying, "It's all my fault. In the future when we expand our family I will definitely check their ages clearly. I don't want anyone below 15 years old." "Okay." Gu Mingming shook her head and said, 25. "No, I don't want anyone below 30 years old." Leah narrowed his eyes and said, "Almost no single males can live to 30 years old? Then we won't expand the family." Gu Mingming said in a low and muffled voice, refusing to lift her head no matter what. Leah sighed and said, "I originally wanted to give Barit a title next year. After all, he had already guarded you for 4 years and helped you to go to the platform of the deity's punishment and entrusted his life to you, to give him something to look forward to so that he won't be too affected by Gregory's addition. But from what you said it's obvious that Barit has no chance. Sigh, that fellow is really pitiful. I wonder how upset he will be after hearing about Gregory's matter." Digression. "What do you mean? Speak human language." Wabiai pursed his lips and shook his head lightly. Wabiai was never serious when he was with Gu Mingming. His sudden seriousness made Gu Mingming very uncomfortable and uneasy. She patted Wabiai's shoulder and said, "If you feel uneasy, don't go over. Wait for me here. I will come back to meet you after retrieving the love of the sky." Wabiai hesitated for a moment before revealing his trademark unruly smile. "If I admit defeat here and let you face danger alone, how will I face him in the future?" He, of course, was referring to Snake. He had also said the same thing when they were at the bottom of the sea. Even though his body had been corroded by the poison until his bones were exposed, he had still forced himself to protect Gu Mingming and bring her in. Chapter 1455. Gregory looked at everyone and said, "It is impossible for a beast to reach the height of the Moda Mountains. Even for me it is not easy to reach the peak. Bringing her alone is already my limit. I cannot bring all of you along. If you cannot reach the peak there is no point in you all going in. Why don't you wait here?" Gregory's words were considered polite. After crossing a small stream they would be entering the Moda Mountains. And the weather in the Moda Mountains was much harsher than the winter in the beast world. Elvis was a beast king and Leah was a 5th-level snow fox. The two of them might be able to hold on for a while, but Wabiai was a snake. Once he entered he would be frozen stiff and enter hibernation. And the Moda Mountains were sealed in ice all year round, which meant Wabiai could forget about waking up once he fell asleep. No matter how strong Oriton was, he was just a 3rd-level tiger beast. If he could not withstand the attacks of the Moda Mountains he would definitely die. "No way." Leah waved his tail and chuckled. "I will follow you in and wait for you at the foot of the mountain. We're in the same line." Elvis said simply. They could not fly, so there was really no other way. But for them to throw Gu Mingming into danger alone while they waited in a comfortable place, this kind of thing, they could not do. Wabiai stared at the tall mountain covered by the snow and was lost in thought. Only when Gu Mingming had decided for him and Oriton to wait here did he suddenly snap out of his trance. He pulled Gu Mingming's hand and said, "Gu Tuming, look at that mountain. Doesn't it look like my original form?" With that, Wabiai reverted to his original form and coiled up in circles. He raised his upper body up high and opened his mouth wide, glaring at them as though he was ready to attack. Gu Mingming looked at Wabiai and then at the mountain. Then she nodded in agreement. "You don't say, it does look a little like that. But don't all snakes look like this? If a snake was here he would probably look more like..." Wabiai reverted to his human form and shook his head. He frowned. "No, that is me. You?" Gu Mingming was puzzled, but Wabiai did not look like he was joking. After a moment of silence, Gu Mingming asked, "Little shit, do you have any impression of the Moda Mountains? Have you been here before?" Wabiai shook his head and said, "I have no impression at all after I was born. Everything I remember started with Snake. By right, snakes have inherited memories, but I have no impression of my father's generation and everything in the past. It's as if my life only started when I left the Mecca Desert with Snake and came to the Snake King Valley." This was very strange indeed. Gu Mingming patted Wabiai's shoulder. "It's all right. Since you are so curious, let's go in together. If you are frozen, Lil Miss will carry you. Unless Lil Miss dies inside, otherwise I will bring you out the way I brought you in." Wabiai straightened his neck and sneered. "I am a male, do I need you to carry me?" Only true friends would know how much trust there was behind such a provocative and contemptuous smile. He knew that even if he mutated into Godzilla in there, Gu Mingming would still knock him unconscious and bring him out. She would not leave him alone. That's true, the sky was Gregory's territory, there would be no problem no matter how she jumped. Gradually calming down, Gu Mingming then realized that she had grabbed him a little too harshly. The roots of Gregory's feathers were bleeding, so she asked softly, "Does it hurt?" Gregory didn't reply to her. He probably understood that she wouldn't understand even if he replied, so he might as well save his energy and continue rushing upwards. But when they were not around, Gu Mingming could carry a bucket of water up to 3 floors without panting. Although there were females on the Moda Mountains, as a tribe leader with an engagement, Gregory had almost no experience in interacting with females. He had fallen into Gu Mingming's hands the first time he left the mountains, so his love experience was equivalent to 0. He did not have Snake's inherited memories, and did not even have Elvis and Lee's familiarity and influence, so he did not know how to please a female. But he knew one thing. Gu Mingming was not willing to rely on him. Digression. Chapter 1458. Just say it if you're uncomfortable, there's no need to force yourself. Gregory frowned. He was just a 3rd-level orc, but his tone was so mature that Gu Mingming wanted to shout, "Master is right." "You're right." Gu Mingming smiled and said, "I'm just not used to this height, so I don't have much strength. I'm really fine, just bear with it and it will be over." Gregory didn't say anything else and just looked at Gu Mingming quietly. He remembered that when she drank a mouthful of water and solder, she would stick out her tongue pitifully and whine to Leah in pain. This made Leah hug her and blow at her to coax and comfort her. He had to comfort her properly. When she was weaving a praying mat with tree vines, she was accidentally pricked by the thorny vines and a drop of blood flowed out. It was no exaggeration, just 1 drop. She even said that she was afraid that the thorns would enter her body through her blood vessels and forcefully squeeze it out. In the end, Elvis frowned and was about to scold her when she preemptively pretended to cry. She shrugged her shoulders and stretched out her fingers to scream in pain even though she did not have a single tear. His heart ached so much that he could only hug her and coax her first. All the words he wanted to scold her were stuck in his throat, and in the end, every tree vine that Gu Mingming wanted to use had to be rubbed 8 times with his bare hands to ensure that there were no thorns left before entering Gu Mingming's hands. Such a Gu Mingming was telling him, "Bear with it and it will be over." Putting Gu Mingming down, Gregory spread his wings and flew into the snowstorm. Gu Mingming didn't know what was wrong with Gregory. She had already tried her best not to create trouble for him, but why did he still look unhappy? The so-called family still needed time to get used to each other. Gu Mingming really did not have much energy, and after Gregory left, she did not force herself to stay awake anymore. She just lay by the fire and fell asleep again. Actually, Gregory was still quite meticulous. A fire was lit in the cave and a stone pot was added on top of the fire. Needless to say, this was what Leah had taught him. As Gu Mingming had a nosebleed easily, water had to be boiled on top of the fire to use the steam to moisturize the air and maintain the humidity. A thick beast skin was laid beside the fire and the distance was just right so that it would not be dangerous if it was too close and not too far away for Gu Mingming to freeze. There were rows of ice cups at the entrance of the cave. Gu Mingming just had to pour the hot water from the pot into the ice cups and she would be able to drink the warm water immediately. Moreover, the ice cups were made from the extremely clean ice from the Moda Mountains. It had a sharp sweetness to it and if one was not afraid of the cold, it would taste like rock candy when chewing on it. Chapter 1459. Gu Mingming wanted to reject him. She felt that this position was too ambiguous. Other than Leah and Elvis, she could not accept anyone else hugging her like this. Really, it was extremely awkward. Gregory could tell that she wanted to struggle and did not force her. He just said calmly, "The temperature here is much lower than the ground. You will get frostbite if you don't cover yourself with beast skin. Elvis and Leah are not around. Although I am just a guardian beast, I have the responsibility to protect and take care of you. I'm just feeding you a few fruits. You don't have to reject me so much. I can also recognize my own position." Gu Mingming actually did not think so much. Everything she did was just out of instinct. She felt a little embarrassed after being reminded by Gregory. She had ruined his reputation and ruined his entire life. She originally wanted to treat him better, but she forgot that in the beast world, not causing trouble for others was not a virtue. Only by continuously acting, being unreasonable, ordering men around like servants and becoming even more unreasonable, would the males feel safe and blissful. He would then say with a smile, "Look, my female is so reliant on me. She gave me so many chances to prove that I love her." Sighing, Gu Mingming opened her mouth to take the xueling fruit from Gregory's hands. Then she smiled and said, "Thank you." Gregory smiled faintly and sighed. He asked as if he was talking to himself, "Do you also say thank you to Leah and Elvis?" Gu Mingming thought for a while and shook her head. She said, "I did in the past but I slowly got used to it. Thinking about it, it's really been a long time since I said thank you to them." The answer made Grace feel a little better. She did not say thank you to him because she was estranged. She was just not used to his care. If he had a long time and many chances to take care of her, maybe she would accept it as a matter of course, just like how she treated Leah and Elvis. Eat another one. With that, Gregory plucked another xueling fruit and passed it to Gu Mingming. He watched her swallow it. He then asked, "Do you feel better after eating this?" Gu Mingming nodded. She leaned against Gregory's chest lazily. She said, "I just don't have any energy. But this xueling fruit is really refreshing. I don't feel so disgusted after eating it. It's quite comfortable." Gregory smiled at Gu Mingming's words and said, "If you like, I can pick fresh ones for you every day. But you can't eat too much at one time. Otherwise it will be too cold and your stomach will feel uncomfortable." Gu Mingming wanted to tell him not to trouble himself, but after some thought she decided not to. If braving the wind and snow to pick fruits for her to eat could make him feel happy, then so be it. After all, Gu Mingming really could not do the kind of pretentious things she did to Elvis and Leah in front of the 10-year-old Gregory,